Hi guys, welcome to my channel for this week's reading vlog. How are you all doing? Today the weather is finally sunny and warm again. Last week the weather has been quite unpredictable. One day the weather could be really lovely, but the next day could be pouring. So it is good again to finally have some sunlight. First of all, over the weekend, I was really motivated. I have read quite a lot of The Light of All That Falls by James Islington. It is such a long journey and finally come to an end. I have only got a chapter and an epilogue left, so I guess it would be better for me to give my final thoughts about this whole series once I finish it, rather than giving you my thoughts now. I don't have much left, so definitely I can share my thoughts tomorrow and also picking up a new book from my mate's TBR. I hope that I can finish off my mate's TBR this month because I want to read 5 books. And I am so close to it. I believe I can do it. Today I have filmed an unhaul video, meaning that finally I got so much more space on my shelf for books in the future. And most importantly, those books I have DNF can have another chance of being loved. So I have to take some pictures for those books. They're just over there. And then I can put them online for sale. Also, I have to edit that unhaul video today. So I think I will see you when I finish The Light of All That Falls. So see you in a bit. So here comes to the next day, and today the weather is terrible. It is really dark outside and it is the exact opposite of yesterday. But here I can bring you a very good news. It is, I have finished The Light of All That Falls by James Islington, meaning that I have finished the Licanius Trilogy. Overall, I do enjoy this series, but I don't know where to start. This book is full of well thought out, intricate world building, but first of all, let me put this book down because it is massive and heavy. First of all, let's chat about what this series is about just in case you haven't heard of it before. Very generally, very briefly, this series is about a barrier in the northeast weakening. We need to find ways to strengthen it, otherwise it means the end of humanity. Because the barrier is for blocking out all these kind of dangers. Coming to now, especially for people that is quite far away from this barrier, they don't believe this danger is real. So in the first book, we are introduced to our 4 main characters, Davian, Archer, Word, and Caden, and their companions. So we're gonna find out what is going on and learn about the politics and history. Let's say the August Rebellion, the tenants that are gonna bind all the gifts, and also we're gonna learn about the magic system here, which is the essence and can. Second book is like we're set in motion. We're gonna find ways to strengthen this barrier to block out all these dangers. There are monsters that have already escaped from it, so we're gonna deal with them. And also learn about Caden's past. Logically, coming to the last book, we're gonna find ways to really solve everything once and for all so people can live peacefully forever. What I do like about this series is that every details and characters are fully utilized and explained. There are reasons for certain things to happen, while certain characters got these accessories, things that seems to not belong here. Who is the identity of this character actually? Every character serves with a purpose and sometimes with an unexpected twist. And it is like the theme of this series, which is about fate. It seems that all our decisions have been made by someone else already. We are just like the pawns in this massive game by the gods or some like spiritual entity beyond our comprehension. Clearly, James Islington has already arranged everything for our character, and he is like the L in this series. I especially like the epilogue of the last book. It is very emotional and it cleverly ties up all the details. There are questions, clues about Davian's past, but after reading this epilogue, things make sense. Let's say why Davian has to go through those labor works to collect metals with his companions. How Davian's thing gonna happen in the future. My favorite character of this series is definitely Word. In the first book, he is like the companion to Davian. It is not too much going on with him, but starting in the second book, he took up a leadership role. He needs to persuade others that the danger is real and handle this political difference. Also, in this book, we know that his family is not perfect because of his identity as a gift. There are secrets about his father, why suddenly he changed his mood, and also his mother is not very supportive with him. Finally, in the last book, he is like the true commander in the battlefield. He needs to learn to let go once the tragedy is coming and also the cost of a war. Seeing him making so many critical decisions during the final confrontation is really satisfying. But to be very picky, to be very honest, I don't think this is like the best book of this series. The first 40% of this book is just really slow. We got to know about what Asha is up to since she takes up this role. We're dealing with the political difference since the conflict, Davian's escape, and also Caden's past with the Venerate. Looking back after I finished this book, of course I would say it is useful because it is for the build-up later in the book. But this book is 800 pages long. Even though the writing is easy to follow, it is still a huge commitment to finish this series. The romance here is a bit awkward. It is like if the authors wants to pair you up, you two will be together sort of things. My biggest problem is the massive plot hole by the end of the book. By the last 10%, I guess nobody see this twist coming. It is about Eric and Dizia, those two that are going for a task by the end of the second book. Their appearance did affect how the story goes, and I think we all agree that we need more of it. Let's say, who are these people coming from the south? What's the deal? What's the bargain between Eric and them? And also the death of a Venerate. It is briefly mentioned by, I guess, Caden in a lab or somewhere else. I think maybe it is in the forge. He said that the color of it is getting dull, so it means that he's gonna be dead. But we need some explanation behind it. I think if you have read the author's note, you would know that this POV originally should be included in this last book, but because it's gonna be too lengthy, up to 15k words, so supposedly we're gonna have a spin-off novella about this pair of characters, but where is it now? You have written The Wheel of the Many, but how about the Licanius Trilogy? Finish this massive plot hole, please. Overall, it is still a decent series, especially for those who love well thought out world building. So now I can pick up my fourth book on my Maze TBR, which is The Pattern of the World by J.T. Greathouse, the last book of the Pact and the Pattern series. I am only 50 pages in, so I don't know too much about it yet. This book takes place right after the conflict in the last book, and we are introduced to 4 POVs. They are set to do certain tasks, so I guess I will read more and I can give you a slightly more in-depth update. So see you in a bit. Hello, it is the next day and it is once again gloomy outside. I just want to read outside this week. Why you have to do this to me? Luckily, I've read quite a lot of The Pattern of the World in the last 24 hours. I think I have read over 150 pages, so I am reaching the 200 page mark. Actually, I have finished the session 1 and reaching session 2. So I guess I can share a little bit more about my thoughts on this book. Firstly, let's have a brief recap about what this series is about, just in case you don't know anything about it. In the first book, we follow a character called Van Alder. He was torn between two ideologies, I would say. Firstly, it's about his father, who is pro-emperor. He wants Van to take this imperial exam, get a stable job, and serve the government just like what the Poppy War has done similarly. But one night by accident, Van discovered these secrets about his mother's side. From his grandmother, he learns about magic and how the empire has actually suppressed them. They are actually leading a rebellion against the emperor. But between these two extremely opposite ideologies, Van finds a third way. He took the exam and became the hand of the emperor. He thinks by using this power granted by the emperor, he could actually shape the world according to his will to his third way. But his journey here is never easy. Firstly, he witnessed the death of a really close friend called Oriole. Then he tried to move on and find a new place to start his career but still serving the government. In here, he may have found a girl that he loved, he cared, but once again, turns out that Wen is still just a tool to the government. It has more to do about the magic system here. He is alone again and the only home he has is the rebellion from his grandmother. Before that, he learns more about the magic from a really powerful witch called the hissing cat. In the second book, I would say he take up the leadership role for this rebellion. In a sense, it is like redeeming himself, try to stop what the emperor from what he is doing. In this book, we are introduced to a new POV called Pinion, who was the brother of Oriole. In a sense, he is like Wang Baoxiang from the Radiant King duology by Shirley Packer Chan. It is like he is living in the shadow of his brother and thinking Wen is responsible for all this chaos in the world now. By the end of the second book, Wen made a huge mistake and causing like a doomsday in this world. Coming to the last book of the series, because of the mistake that Wen has made, how the time flows in this world and also the position of the stars in the sky has changed drastically. The most disastrous thing is that because there are no force holding them anymore, monsters were unleashed to this world. In this book, we're gonna follow 4 POVs. Firstly, of course, is Wen. He is picking up from what has just happened and return home where the rebellion is and try to find a way to solve this massive problem. And then we have Ra, who followed the Stormfather. He wanna attack the emperor because of what he has done in the past, but she was clueless about what is going on in this world. Coral is our third POV, who was the tutor of Wen in the first book. In the second book, he returned home and set up a local school, thinking that, oh, I now got Wen this really successful student, I can attract more people to study under my school. But he didn't know that Wen is like a traitor to the empire, so it kind of causing quite a lot of troubles. But at the same time, Coral is actually learning more about his local culture of his home. Before, he didn't know much about the legacy of his birthplace. Lastly, of course, we have Pinion, who thought that all these troubles are caused by Wen and want to kill him for that. I am really satisfied by how the first session ends. It is not easy, it is emotional, it is brutal. In short, it is like Pinion and Wen try to solve this massive, deep emotional conflict and difference. There's gonna be hate, there's gonna be tragedy, there's gonna be pain, there's gonna be relief. It is quite deep, it is quite heavy, but I quite like how this relationship kind of improving. I'm kind of having quite a high expectation because of how the first session ends, and I am curious about how this trilogy gonna be concluded. I will try my best to finish this last book before this vlog ends because it's gonna mean that I have finished 2 epic fantasies in a week, which is like so I will see you in the next update. Hello everyone, it is the next day. Finally, the weather is so nice, so sunny out there, so I guess I can finally read outside later today, which is such a great news to me. I'm so desperate for some sunshine. Today I went out for some packaging materials for the books that I have unhauled so that I can send them tomorrow. In terms of reading, I have just finished session 2, which was such an emotional roller coaster. Very briefly, there is a seal in Eastern Fortress, which is where Foolish Cur with his clan and also the Cyanese army stationed in. But these two hate each other. This seal can protect them from all the monsters or the unwoven from outside that the Foolish Cur has unleashed. Within this territory, you can't really use magic unless you got like a little bone shot that was made by Foolish Cur in the last book. As you can already imagine, during a wartime, food supply can easily run low, so they can't really stay in forever. Foolish Cur, when come up with a solution to work with the Emperor, But the emperor is such a powerful being. Of course, he didn't want to work with anyone else, especially Wen, who used to be the hand for him. So what's the point of me being so powerful working with you? Now it is the time to settle this conflict within the seal because the Chinese army got the grains that can feed foolish people. Because of this deep long-term hatred between these two group of people, the Chinese of course don't want to work with the Lion. This conflict between them is so emotional because of Pinion. He is like foolish Kerr finally realizing what he has done in the past. He has already seen enough blood in a war. He knows too much about the government, the empire secrets, so he just want to stop the war. In this conflict, he is like the peacemaker, but he got hurt, and I don't know why I got so emotional. I just care for him. It is just too brutal, guys. Outside this seal, the Emperor Tennant captured the one that can call the Stonefather, who is called Rao. It looks like Tennant got some use with her so that they can defeat the gods. For our tutor, Koroha also got into the similar situation with the Foolish Kerr, but he got very limited information about what is going on in this outside world. One thing he do know is that by using magic, it will attract the unwoven, the monsters. But now he is in this dilemma. Should I save the one who enlightened me about the legacy of my people by using magic? If I use magic, I will attract monsters. I will turn innocent children to monsters. What should he do? It is such a difficult decision to make. Now he is following the clues left by his former employer, and he's gonna find a hidden city under a hidden city. But what he has done has shocked the old witches like the Emperor and also the hissing cat. I only got the last session left and it is less than 100 pages. So I am confident that I can finish this book by the end of the vlog, and also I can share my final thoughts about this whole series. So let's get to reading. So here comes to the final update of this reading vlog, and I am so happy to say that I have finally taken off another series on my reading list, the Pact and the Pattern series by J.T. Greathouse. My honest opinion is that it is not my favorite series. There are definitely emotional moments in this last book. Firstly is Pinion learning to forgive, learning to let go, learning to not let revenge blind you. Although that part is a little bit graphic, a little bit bloody when he needs to learn this lesson. The second one I can remember so vividly is also about Pinion, when he tries to be the peacemaker to unite these two rivalries, the seniors and also the Nanyan. I am quite surprised to see his growth in this last book. Moving on to the ending, to the final confrontation, I think it is wrapped up too quickly in a rush. I think the whole conflict is settled quite easily. Yes, I do like the trick by Dr. Shaw. We always see Tennant, this like really powerful godlike figure throughout this whole trilogy, but it is just too easy to deal with him in this way. Then there will be a discussion about how to use this powerful ancient weapon. All of a sudden, every character will throw out their ideas based on what they have gone through. Let's say for Wen, he want to keep magic in this pattern because of the benefits of it, let's say healing. If there's no healing magic, then how can we treat the patient, or like in war, how can we heal those who are injured? Hissing Cat was not too certain what to do, but Rao want to burn them all because they killed the Stonefather. What's the point of having magic anymore? All of a sudden it turns into like a moral discussion. Let's say we are never gonna be certain about the consequences when we make a decision. Then should we act? Suddenly we put a full stop to this discussion, and then the next chapter is already the epilogue. What is actually going on? What decision do they make? I do hope that towards the end and there will be something more about the bigger picture. How Pinion and Clear River gonna settle the people being left behind within the seal, Koroha's people fighting the fists from the Emperor, and also how about the people that Raz left behind? I could see the potential, and I'm curious about what they would do. It is the last book of a trilogy, so logically you will want to see how everything gonna be summed up, gonna be tied up. but I think this book is a bit of a lackluster. Compare this series to Licanius, the one that I finished earlier in the week. I think Licanius Trilogy is so smart in terms of utilizing every detail and every character. This book didn't really do it. And I also think that the arrangement of the first person, third person is quite weird in this book. I can already see it in the second book. I don't know why only one chapter is in first person. For Pinion, Koroha, and Ra, their perspective is always in third person. So it is kind of confusing when you are jumping between these POVs. Overall, I am a bit gutted, a bit disappointed with how this series ends. Next week reading vlog is gonna be a special one because I'm going to read my very first sci-fi. Yes, it is The Martian by Andy Weir from TBB Sci-Fi Sub, so stay tuned to it. If you have enjoyed this week reading vlog, don't forget to give it a like. If you don't want to miss any content from me, make sure you have subscribed to my channel. I'll see you real soon. Goodbye.